What is up? It's been a minute. I've been a crazy month at work, so I haven't been able to sit down and really do anything more than my smaller, like short content that I post on Instagram. So, yeah, I'm just excited to sit down today and kind of go through something I've been thinking about and something I'm going to post a reel about on Instagram actually tomorrow. But I just wanted to go into it deeper here, kind of talk about why these books are what I've chosen. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So, really, today I want to focus on my top 5 favorite trilogies of all time. Okay, so I know this is something we talk about a lot. It's really hard to pin down kind of what that favorite trilogy is and kind of what those are because really I find myself coming back to specific books, like The Way of Kings is probably my favorite book of all time, at least one of the top 2, right? But I think the Stormlight Archives as a series, well, first off, it's not a trilogy, so I wouldn't count it in this video anyway. But as a series, I wouldn't say it's my favorite series of all time, right? But there are books in there that could be my top favorite books. So really, I wanted to look at here the series as a whole, why those are my favorite series as a whole, and my favorite, sorry, trilogies as a whole, and go from there. So this will kind of just be a kind of talk about that a little bit, right? Don't have to get super into it. Just going to give surface level stuff, why I love it so much. And I'd love to hear in the comments what your favorite trilogy of all time is. Again, this could be totally different in a year, right? These things are always changing. But when I look at my books and I think what's on my mind the most, these are the trilogies that come to mind. All right. Let's start off here. Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This is so foundational to me in the books that I love now. Michael J. Sullivan's world is incredible. It's something I feel like is under talked about because we have people like Abercrombie and Sanderson who just build these incredible worlds. I think Michael J. Sullivan is right up there in this universe that he has built, right? And it all comes off of this book. It all comes off of the Rhaenyra Revelations in this trilogy. This is where everything plays off of. And this series as a whole, these 3 books are just so good. They are one of my favorite rereads. They're always one of my first recommendations, especially to people who are like newer to fantasy or want to feel out what fantasy is. This is where I push them. Because look, Royce and Hadrian are probably my favorite duo in all of fantasy. The interplay between them, the juxtaposition between the two, and them working together for a common goal is just so good. It plays out so well. The banter is great. It's right up there with Jean and Locke for me. I love them in The Gentleman Bastards. And Royce and Hadrian, I think, are my original duo that I just love so much. This series is so full of lore. It's so packed with implications that Michael fleshes out in later books. And when you go publication order, this is first, but we go back in time a lot as a whole with Michael J. Sullivan. And I love that because it's so interesting to think back to this series and think what these humans believed, right? Or where the elves stand in this series compared to what it was in the past. And I think Michael Sullivan as a whole is just such an interesting world to jump into. And luckily it all starts here with the Rhaenyra Revelations, and these are fantastic. So it's super easy to convince people to go further beyond this. There's not a lot of people I run into that have read this series or that I suggest it to that don't like this. Royce and Hadrian are incredible. The action is awesome. The lore is great. Everything about this series works for me so well. And it is always one of the series that I come back to when people say, hey, what's your favorite trilogy? This is always up there. This always comes to mind for me. And something I highly recommend if you have not read, get into Michael J. Sullivan. Highly recommend it. Start here with Theft of Swords. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. I don't know how to help. Realm of the Elderlings. There's a ton to pick of. There's a ton to pick from Robin Hobb, right? But my heart always comes back to the Live Ship Traders. I like the Farseer trilogy, the one that comes before this, and I know for a lot of people that doesn't work. And I beg of you, if you're one of those people that it didn't work, or you were just kind of, a 3 out of 5 or middling on it, read Live Ship Traders. This series is unforgettable in every sense of the word. The characters are unbelievable. believable. Like this is what I judge character work off of is the live ship traders. Robin does an incredible job with these characters here, making them come to life slowly. This slow burn plot, this slow reveal of everything that happens through these three books is just so satisfying. And seeing how these characters change and develop, like we got glimpses of that in the Farseer trilogy with Fitz, but the amount of characters she's able to do that with in here is just amazing. And I always come back to this series when someone mentions the realm of the Elderlings. I love Robin Hobb's work as a whole, but the Live Ship Traders just has a special place in my heart because of how much I love this series and how much these characters resonate with me. From the greatest of honestly female main characters that I've come across, this is one of the best. This is one of the best. Althea is one of the best, honestly. And I would die on that hill. And one of the most vile people, Kyle. Everybody will hate Kyle if you read this book. Trust me, man. Like Robin brings these characters to life so well, whether they're on the good spectrum or the evil spectrum. It's just done so beautifully. And the magic in this book and the lore that comes from this, that references other things you're going to see throughout the realm of the Elderlings, is just done so beautifully. It's done so beautifully here. And dude, pirates, come on. Pirates are so dope, dude. They're so dope. And this is such an unassuming pirate book. You just got to try it. You got to try it. It's my favorite my favorite trilogy from Robin Hobb. This is it right here, the Live Ship Traders. If you read the Farseer trilogy, you were middling on it, please go to this. Read the first one at least, see what happens. I feel like you're going to find some success in a new series that you're really going to enjoy. All right. I know I keep, I'm trying my best here not to have to edit. I edit a ton on my Instagram page. So I'm trying my best for this longer form stuff, just to do what I can to, edit less. That will make it less stressful for me to post stuff, right? Because then I can just talk about books, get all that out, and then give it to y'all. And that's my dream. That's my dream. So bear with me. I'm going to grab books here. I don't think we need to go into this one too deeply. It's the Lord of the Rings, right? These are books that as a child I listened to on audio as I fell asleep. When I got, I was 10 or I was 11, I think, when the first movie came out. That just brought it to a whole new level to me. Then when I came back to this trilogy as a middle schooler and then a high schooler and just reading it and getting more into it, like it solidified fantasy in my mind. And I will always come back to this series just because it made me a fantasy fan. This and Wheel of Time, I think, are the ones that really ingrained in me what fantasy is and why I love it. And Tolkien here obviously basically created the genre, right? The modern fantasy that we know. Even though, this isn't a series I'm going to recommend to everybody. I think there's a lot of stuff here that's not going to resonate with people. It is very slow. There is a lot of descriptions of trees. I love that. I like that in books, especially fantasy books, right? That slice of life as they're going on this just horrific mission to save Middle Earth. There's just little pieces in here that Tolkien puts in that just brings the world to life. And like, this is the pinnacle of world building to me. I think Brandon Sanderson comes close in a lot of his work, especially in Stormlight. But when it comes to trilogies, man, Lord of the Rings, you can't beat it. You can't beat it for world building. If you're a person who loves that, you love that slow burn plot, you love great payoff, emotional moments, good characters, and just fantastic world building, I'm going to recommend The Lord of the Rings to you. For me, this was fundamental in my love for fantasy, and I don't see that ever changing. So yeah, you guys know it. Just go read The Lord of the Rings if you haven't yet. I know you love the movies. You all love the movies. All we do is talk about the movies. Go read the books. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. All right. A little different when it comes to fantasy, but one of my favorites, The Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. This is the first of the Powder Mage trilogy. And the Powder Mage trilogy as a whole to me is the first time where I saw a different take on fantasy, right? This came out, I was probably 20 when this came out. To then I was reading very Tolkien-esque fantasy, just your standard run-of-the-mill sword and board fantasy, which I love. I adore. It's always going to have a place in my heart. It's always going to be my favorite at the end of the day. But when I found out there was gunpowder when there was a gunpowder snorting based magic system, with this book, I immediately picked it up, and it just hit so hard for me. I think this is one of those books where there will be people that it doesn't resonate with, and if it does a little bit, I always tell people to get through that first trilogy and get to the second trilogy because that is where Brian peaks in his second trilogy, honestly. But this one's always going to hold a special place in my heart just because it introduced me to a whole nother world of fantasy. It introduced me to more advanced magic system based off of somewhat modern technology, which is just something I hadn't experienced as a reader to that point, right? Because I was reading a lot of Tolkien, a lot of Tad Williams, a lot of Terry Brooks, Terry Goodkind, that kind of stuff. And this just like changed the game for me. It made me realize there is fantastic stories to be told without a sword and a shield. And Brian did that for me here. The characters are so good. Like the father son relationship in here, and just seeing that grow through this trilogy just hits so hard for, I think, honestly, I think men. A lot of us, especially my age, millennials, we have boomer parents. That father son dynamic is just this book is so reminiscent of our life. Like you can see so much of yourself in Taniel with his father Tamas here, and you can see that relationship grow and what happens with it and how that evolves throughout the story is just such a beautiful thing. I'm not at all going to tell you this trilogy is perfect. I think there's a lot of issues here. I think Brian gets much better with his female characters in his next series that comes after this, set in the same world. His next series follows this immediately after, same world. You're going to see a lot of the same characters. I think his work with women gets a lot better in his books. I don't think it's the best in this trilogy, but I can't deny how much this trilogy impacted my reading life, how much this trilogy just made me realize there's more out there than Tolkien-esque fantasy. And yeah, it's just fantastic, man. It was my first taste of Flintlock fantasy, and now I search it out. Like I look for it. I enjoy it. Django Wexler, was the one that came after this that I really enjoyed. And Richard Swan's picking it up again in Grave Empire. So these are all books that I love so much now, like this Flintlock fantasy. And it all started here. So The Promise of Blood, the Powder Mage trilogy, this is my Broken Binding edition. This was my golden goose for a while. I finally got it on the leftover sale. But yeah, I love this series so much. Love it so much. And finally, I'm a Joe Abercrombie fan. I think most dudes in fantasy are. The First Law is a fantastic world. We love Glocta. We love Logan. We love the crew. We love Dogman. Everything, right? We love The First Law. But for me, The Age of Madness, starting with A Little Hatred, this is Abercrombie's best trilogy. This is where I realized this is where I started seeing deficiencies in The First Law. I still love The First Law. That original trilogy is fantastic, but this is just so good. Like this is Abercrombie, besides Red Country, which is fantastic. This is, when it comes to trilogies, this is Abercrombie's best work for me personally. I love the new characters. I love some of the carryover from The First Law into this story, into this trilogy. I think he carried over the right stuff. Although there was some stuff I wish I saw more of from The First Law, I think he made all the right decisions here, and how this story played out and ended. I think it's very hard to deny that he didn't make the right decisions coming into this series. With our new characters, there's just adds a whole nother dynamic. I feel like Joe opened up a lot. His shell opened up. His characters opened up in this series. The First Law is very good, but it's very flat on the character development, I believe. The characters are great, but they all kind of have the same flavor to them. And I feel like in the Age of Madness, we start to get characters who are different from each other and very distinct, right? It's not just little differences between the characters. We're seeing completely different ideologies, completely different mindsets. And the characters finally have flavors. It feels like there's multiple flavors of ice cream here. It's not just vanilla and chocolate like we saw in The First Law. And I think Age of Madness does that so well. I also have found a lot of people who love The First Law and love that first trilogy, just for some reason have not started Age of Madness. I don't know if that's just because there is so much love for the First Law, which I understand. I was there at one point, right? Like, I didn't want First Law ruined by this when it got announced. And I read it and I was all in, baby. Like, I was sold, man. Joe did such a great job with this trilogy. It goes far beyond what First Law does when it comes to lore and world building and character development. It's done so well. And every one of these books just rocks from start to end, man. And Joe proved how good of a writer he is in this series. He started that with Red Country, and we got to this trilogy, and it was like, okay, this dude knows what's up. He knows he can write a freaking book, man. While I did like the Devils, I don't think whatever happens with the Devils, I don't think it's coming close to this, and maybe it does. I'd be happy to be proven wrong. But yeah, man, like if you love the First Law, if you love Joe Abercrombie's writing, do not sleep on the Age of Madness, because this trilogy is peak, baby. It's peak. There it is. Those are my top trilogies, 5 of them. Ask me again in a month. It may be different, but as of right now, that's where I'm at. These are the books I love. Hold on. Let me hold them up for you one more time. Right? Age of Madness, Joe Abercrombie. Powder Mage Trilogy by Brian McClellan. The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. And last, but also first in this video, The Rhyuria Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan. These books are incredible. Read them. God, please read these trilogies. They're my favorite. Maybe we'll do a favorite books, because a favorite books is going to look much different than this. But that could be something we do next week. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Remember, please, if you enjoyed this video, if you like this, please comment, please subscribe. That helps me out so much. I'd love to hit 500 followers just to give me that motivation to keep going here, right? Like, I love talking long form. I love going more than 1 to 3 minutes like I do on Instagram. I do love that though. So go follow me on Instagram too. But yeah, that's where you're going to see the majority of my content. You're going to see me daily post there. As for this, hey man, this is just my fun little side project. And I appreciate anybody who watched this far. Thank you so much. You are everything to me, like Michelle Branch says. Or is that Vanessa Carlton? Who knows? Have a great day, everyone. Thanks. Bye.